right, welcome back to another episode of the Premier Planet Podcast, folks. And before we begin, and before Rand has to remind me this time, I remember we got to get the pimping out of the way right away.
Thanks, man.
As the Godfather used to say, pimping ain't easy. But what is easy is how you guys can keep up with us.
Before you start pimping, speaking of the Godfather, I was in Memphis when I first started with the Godfather. He was wrestling as the Soultaker. And when you're done pimping, I'll share a road story that has never been heard before.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that. So, number one, folks, Patreon. We
Don't be afraid of Patreon if you're my age. Please, it's so simple, and it's a hell of a way that I think they're going to be serving up content in the future.
These kids in the what we say last week? These kids and their Patreons.
Use kids and your Patreons. You got to say it like an old guy. I'm an old guy.
3 tiers, 3 different tiers you guys can choose from. Just for $1 a month, you guys can hear this podcast a week before it goes to YouTube. The same week it's recorded and completely ad-free. $3 is going to get you that. And a couple exclusive matches a month, usually, which come from our once-a-month Friday night crowded tapings. But right now, since we don't have a crowd, we're still doing our best to get you at least a couple of exclusive matches every month from our crowdless tapings. And then $5 is going to get you an entire Friday night taping or an entire crowdless taping, all for $5 a month, plus everything else that you get on the $1 and the $3 levels.
Yeah,
so
you're going to get exclusive content that's going to definitely be worth your while.
Mm-hmm. And PPW on demand. It's Premier. I always screw this up. PremierProWrestling.com. I see.
Pivot share.
Right? One of these days. It's going to be a good day for me when I can do this in one.
First and then
it's PremierProWrestling.PivotShare.com/home. And I'll make sure to put the address in a little graphic so people don't have to.
Or go to PivotShare.com and look for Premier Pro Wrestling.
Do that too.
How is that?
Work smarter, not harder, as my old man used to say.
Now remember, on PivotShare, we have the most current content of any of the wrestling organizations currently on PivotShare.
And even with the COVID going around, new, fresh content is being posted every single week because even though we can't open the doors, we're still recording crowdless, and our guys are still in the ring doing their thing.
Good, compelling wrestling content.
And the guys that are there are just getting better and better and better because they're working through this whole Corona nonsense.
They definitely are going to have a leg up when they loosen the reins and all this garbage wrestling and WWE starts running again.
Yep. And then YouTube.
Hey, I wonder. Now that you mention it, I wonder is Japan still touring or are they shut down?
I'm willing to bet they're probably shut down.
I'm going to Google that. Maybe I should Google that now. You go ahead and finish pimping. I'm going to go get my phone and Google that.
Yeah, go for it.
Isn't that interesting or no?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I imagine with their population, they probably are shut down right now. But Rand's going to go confirm that. In the meantime, I'm going to jump over to YouTube. YouTube is red hot right now. We just crossed 37,000 global subscribers on Premier Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel. You guys deserve a lot of thanks for that. We're going to get to 40,000. I firmly believe it. We are going to get to 40,000 by the 4th of July. If not before.
Dude, we're going to do that. Did you just say 40,000?
40,000.
If we don't hit 40,000 subscribers, it's on us. It's on the infrastructure and the administration because, damn, I'm so grateful. The fans actually are loving this content. It's up to us to provide them what's in the can with the rewinds.
Mm-hmm. And it's all organic.
I'm serious. That's on us. And believe me, I'm fighting like a son of a bitch to get you guys as much content as I can that you've never seen before. Great matches. Usually our semi-main and main events that were on PivotShare for 6 months, but you haven't seen them yet.
Mm-hmm. And we do have that PPW Rewind series where...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We're digging into the archives to bring you guys some stuff that's been on PivotShare for quite a while, even, 2 to 3 years, I think, at this point. And you can see guys like Not Bad Chad, who are, just starting out in their career, who have developed into the performance that they are. You can see them get their start. I know there's a match that was just posted between Not Bad Chad early on in his career and Matt Vine, where Not Bad Chad held his own and really made people pay attention. So a lot of great stuff on YouTube.
And not to mention, we keep forgetting to mention this every week because we're so far removed. We've got 4 guys on WWE's roster. These guys, and you can figure them out who they are, it'll be fun, are penciled in for the next or after that next NXT tryouts.
Yeah, and that was that was going to take place in September. I know they might push it back because of Corona, but
they pushed back the other one. I think it was they pushed back the one in March because of Corona. They actually this stuff hit in the middle, and one of our performers. So I'm not going to say who was on that one, and all they got to do was medicals, and then they got sent home because of that.
Yeah, and that's sad.
What a heartbreaker, dude.
Oh yeah, imagine flying all the way down there thinking you're going to try out for NXT, and you go in, get touched by the doc, told to cough, and then turned around and sent right back home. But
your blood pressure and all that crap,
Yeah, but that wasn't a no from them. They got sent home because of something that was out of their control.
No, the only thing I can go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Block.
No, when Rain gets on a thought, he's got to think it through. Otherwise, I mean, the guy's taking a lot of knocks to his head. What do you want from him?
A lot of emotional beatings too. A lot of emotional beatings.
But yeah, 4. Count them. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 of our current roster are on WWE radar. We'll see when they finally get their tryout, but I'm willing to bet as soon as this Corona lifts, WWE is probably going to start doing tryouts again, and it'll probably be end of this year, early next year at this point, if it was supposed to be in September. I know now we're like 3 months behind.
These guys have World Wrestling Entertainment's attention. They're friggin' good wrestlers, good performers. They have what it takes. They're next level guys. I can't think of any wrestling company off the top of my head in the United States of America that has 4 guys that have the attention of World Wrestling Entertainment currently.
Mm-hmm. And then ProWrestlingTees.com, the home of Premier Pro Wrestling's official merchandise page. We've got shirts on there from
those guys. The hell with those guys. Let the individuals share their shirts and merchandise. World Wrestling Entertainment, at AEW, at Ring of Honor, those guys all share their shirts. That's how they move. What we're going to share is our shirts. Mm-hmm. And you go ahead and give them that parody shirt that you came up with.
We do.
Parody. Don't throw eggs.
We do have a Corona Mania 2020 shirt available.
And all it does is commemorate our crowdless tapings.
And that's what we've nicknamed our crowdless tapings is Corona Mania 2020. And I know a lot of people, so many people, especially now in 2020, are going to see something like that, immediately get butthurt about it, and think that we're laughing about the coronavirus.
Oh, you delicates.
Yeah, and we are not. We're not laughing at the victims. We're not laughing at the virus. We're not laughing at the pandemic. The best way, the single best way you can take power away from something is by making a joke of it. I said this last week. Mel Brooks has made a career out of making fun and getting the world to laugh at Adolf Hitler, a subject so many people throughout the years have said is something you shouldn't laugh about. Mel Brooks has spent 50 to 60 years doing just that, and that's all we're doing with this Corona Mania shirt.
I'm going to step in and cock block you because I forgot to mention this last week again. Shows how my memory works. I've been in therapy off and on my whole life, and I currently see a shrink and a therapist for my issues, which are PTSD and depression. And by both standards, they say the healthiest way to deal with stressors is to laugh. A sense of humor.
A sense of what? Say it again for the people in the back.
Sense of humor.
And that's all this shirt is, folks. It's just a little bit of levity in a time when everybody's stressed out beyond belief. So go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Premier Pro Wrestling, or just go to ProWrestlingTees.com and search for Premier Pro Wrestling. You can scoop up the Corona Mania 2020 shirt. We also have our logo shirts, Premier Pro Wrestling logo shirts, and my personal favorite, we kick ass till we smell shit. We have that there.
Shirt. That's a good shirt. We kick ass until we smell shit.
And we're not bullshitting you. This is a real honest-to-God shirt that's on ProWrestlingTees.com right now.
But the tree's been falling in the forest because we forget to tell yous.
Mm-hmm. And it's up there. The simple reason that it's true.
Also, it's an election year, November 3rd, the big day. They're going to be hammering Donald Trump in support or not in support. You know what I'll call this, man? It's a bipartisan shirt. MAGA. Make American Wrestling Great Again. Now, the shirt was originally produced in red. I got emailed by a heavyset gentleman that said, you know, I would buy that shirt, and I think a lot of big guys would buy that shirt if it wasn't in red. I, for one, am afraid of being accused of being the Kool-Aid man. Can you make one in black? And then I made it available in black, and this guy, if you're listening, it's waiting for you. It's been waiting for you for 3 months now.
So red and black. I personally like the standard red because of, obvious reasons.
But I could see a real heavy-set person not wanting to come into a room and have everybody go, "Hey, Kool-Aid!"
I could see the reservations with that.
Well, the guy, he's a good guy. I know I'm not going to say his name, but he's a good guy, and I think he might even be I don't know. He follows us pretty close. Your shirt's waiting, brother, please.
But if you don't want the red, we have it in black too, and remember, it's not MAGA, it's MAGA, Make American Wrestling Great Again, and that is what we are doing at Premier Pro Wrestling.
30,300 subscribers, can't be wrong.
37,300.
What did I say?
30,000.
God damn it.
Those knocks to the head. It's the knocks to the head.
It's not. I've actually been tested cognitively. I also had an MRI on the brain. They say that my issues are not from physical stuff. I still got my marbles. It's from the mental/emotional stuff, or chemical, if you want to call depression and PTSD that.
Mm-hmm. So, I think that's it. We got Pivot Share, we got Patreon, we got Pro Wrestling Tees, and we got YouTube. I think that covers it. So, Rand, you had a story about Soultaker.
Well, first, let me tell you this one before I forget, because I'm still looking on my phone. New Japan Pro Wrestling had a big event scheduled early in March, and they rescheduled it for March 21st, thinking that they could run it then. There's nothing that directly states it, but it doesn't say like New Japan has announced, like we do in the States. But basically, the bottom line is that they're shut down same way we are because of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. I do see Tama Tonga, who I believe, do you know who Tama Tonga is?
That wasn't Ming, was it?
No, sorry. Tonga is Ming. Haku, or his real name, is Tonga Fafita. He is from Tonga, from the island of Tonga, which, for you factotums, especially you, Justin, did you know that Tonga is the last country in the world that is ruled by a king?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I learned that from Tonga. So that being said, Tama Tonga is either Tonga Fafita, Haku, or Ming, his adopted son or blood son, who is a pretty big star, as both of them are, in New Japan. Also, his blood son, I forget his wrestling name, but he was at NXT for a stint as well. So there is an article out there with Tama Tonga, that's his current performing name in New Japan, talks about the shutdown, but it doesn't really give you much. It's just his opinion. It doesn't. There's no official statement like ours are. You know what I'm saying? Right. But yes, they're currently shut down as well.
Maybe there's no official statement because everybody's just assuming that it's shut down.
Yeah. Well, it is. So, that being said, I promised you guys a Soultaker story. Not Soultaker, Papa Shango and the Godfather. That guy, when I met him, was a lot bigger. He was 300 and change. When he was first broke into the industry and he was wrestling in Memphis as the Soultaker, he was a giant. And he had a mohawk, Probably, I think he's 6'4", 6'5". He might even be taller than that.
Oh, he's legit, 6'4", 6'5", and a legit, 320 pounds.
You want to hear something else legit? A sweet fucking guy. A very decent human being. So, he's bad. I mean, he's got a reputation that he can back up. I think that even in that debauchery that was... not King of the Ring. What was the one where they were trying to shoot fight in WWE?
Oh, Brawl for All.
Yeah, Brawl for All.
Thank you for that one, Vince Russo.
Brawl for All if he had been in that probably 10 years earlier, he would have won him. He's legit a tough guy and a nice guy. And he doesn't brag about being a badass, you know what I mean? So he and I, the deal was you wrestled somewhere around Nashville on Friday night and you spent the night there. Early that morning, you had to get on the road about 5 o'clock, 5:30 at the latest, and shoot 240 miles to Memphis to wrestle at the studio on Union Avenue. I didn't have anyone to ride with after the Junkyard Dog had left, so myself and the Soultaker paired up to make the shot from Nashville to Memphis for TVs. First time we went and did what we did, and on the way back, we were starving. You know what I mean? Because we did the TV. Now we're driving 240 back, and we've got to wrestle that night at the Nashville Fairgrounds. So you've already driven almost 500 miles to wrestle twice that day. Now, I always thought the town of Bucksnort, Tennessee was a rib, you know, but it's not a rib. There is legitimately a Bucksnort, Tennessee. On the way back from Memphis, you take 40, and on 40, you pass the Tennessee River, and right after the Tennessee River, 60 miles at the most, if memory serves, from Nashville, is the Bucksnort, Tennessee exit. And the sign is there. It's awesome. Bucksnort, Tennessee. So, he and I are starving at this point, and we want to eat fast, so we figure if we stop off in a little town like Bucksnort, we're going to get more food in the gut than we would going to Nashville and waiting in line wherever on a Saturday morning, you know, Saturday late morning.
Yeah.
We stop at Bucksnort. We walk into this little diner. I've got this big hair with the frosted tips. I'm wearing pink generic Zubas and a T. Michael Dago tee. Pretty kid, you know, good-looking young guy. I walk in with another guy, 6'5", like you said, in excess of 300 pounds, a black man with a mohawk. Okay, and we're standing in the front waiting. We're tired, we're hungry, we just wrestled, we've got to wrestle again that night. And maybe if you get back in time, you can figure out a way to work out, even though you're bleeding from the eyes, you know. So we forgot, it must be seat yourself. There's no sign, no one's coming up to us. You know, we didn't really pay attention that much to if they were busy, but if memory serves, it wasn't overly busy where we would notice it. So we go and grab a seat. We sit there for another 5 to 8 minutes. Nobody's coming up to us. I'm like, what the hell? I'm starving, you know? I'm probably bitching more than he is. Then all of a sudden, he looks off in the corner, and there's 8 to 10 good old boys staring at us. He looks at me and says, brother, let's stop and eat in Nashville, because we're sitting here now, and even I'm afraid. We gotta go. And that's how it was in 1988 or 89, still in Tennessee, and in Bucksnort in particular.
Yeah. There's a lot of places that are still like that. You go down there, they still make it like it's you know, the 1960s. But
I just remember thinking to myself, if this guy's scared, we really gotta go. I mean, I was like running.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I knew he was a tough guy. He was trained, I believe, by Larry Sharp. He came from the Monster Factory.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Okay.
And the other interesting factoid is real life pimp owns.
No. He was not a pimp. He was involved in that industry prior to getting into wrestling. He doesn't support the actual selling of flesh. Okay. He did bounce and walk the girls and work security to their cars at strip clubs. But his thinking was they're going to strip anyway, they should be protected, and that's how he made the decision. But no, he did not pimp, and I think he actually currently owns a strip club.
Yeah.
And, you know, I also think because of the notoriety he did have, if there was any prostitution going on or sale of flesh outside of dancing, because not all strip clubs are, you know, pro-prostitution, they provide a service. And, you know, it is what it is. You know that industry, it's a smart investment if you know that industry and running clubs. In other parts of the world, there's clubs like in New Zealand where it's a restaurant. You know, not people just don't go there for the stripping. It's the restaurant, it's the bar, it's the dry goods, it's the strip joint. It's all in one. Only in the United States and probably some other countries, but first and foremost, the United States would be so judgmental about it. Also, at those clubs in New Zealand, strippers don't always perform favors.
No,
so I just had to say that culturally so it doesn't make the guy look like shit. He's not a shithead. He's definitely somebody you want in your corner, and he is a man of integrity.
It just goes to show everyone you can't trust everything you read online, because the assumption has always been the guy runs a nightclub in Vegas.
It's a strip club. Yeah. You know, it's a strip club, but that doesn't mean prostitution or sale of flesh.
Yeah. Assumptions, folks, they start wars. Don't buy into them like I did.
I think what I'm going to bring up now, if you don't mind, is something we were talking about beforehand. It's going to be funny to watch you react to this.
Oh, yeah.
Without saying names. And the funny thing about it is, this is the truth, and I know you know it. My fourth cousin by marriage was the famous jazz, big band, and blues singer Pearl Bailey. Pearl Bailey was singing and working a lot of the same clubs around the same time as Billie Holiday. And Pearl married the world-famous percussionist and drummer and my fourth cousin, Louie Bellson, who changed his name to Louie Bellson. That being said, I want to write the story about Louie and Pearl, who got married in the late 40s, maybe 1950, as a mixed couple. Louie, whose father was from Benevento, Italy, Pearl Bailey, who was from the East Coast, and her parents, at least grandparents were slaves. These two got married at the worst possible time a mixed couple could get married, and stayed together 39 years until she died. She wrote her book, which I use as a resource, in 1961 or 63. In said book, she told amazing fucking stories. She left nothing out in regards to the bias against them. But she said on the first fucking page, my intent in this book is to not bury anybody personally. So she didn't hold back, but she vowed to do no harm. And I'll be damned if she didn't make you feel the racism without putting on people who were alive, and some were prominent assholes in entertainment, specifically Hollywood and music at the time. She didn't do it. So I'm going to try to tell this story without naming names and hopefully get some good juju from it. But it's entertaining, and this is the kind of stuff you were just talking about, i.e. the word rumors start wars. Indy's garbage. Indie wrestling. The difference between Premier Pro Wrestling, which is an independent pro wrestling organization, and Indy. The first thing is, I'm not going to book somebody or on the same team or want my guys to perceive themselves as being on the same team just because you were trained by some jamoke that nobody knows and worked a handful of shows and actually really don't have a clue. What reason do I have to book you? What do you bring to the table? Because there's not many out there that I do book from outside. And just for whatever, for namesake, name me one person independently that is more technically sound than Matt Vine off the top of my head. Unless you're better than Matt Vine, you can teach Matt Vine or Chase Gosling or Anakin or Sensei or any of my guys something. What do you bring to the table? You understand? What do you bring to my company? What benefit do I have? But then I see this. Well, I get booked all over because I'm got a Saturday open. That's not how we operate. That's how the indies operate, and that's how they get what they deserve. What is that shit about? The water rises to its own level. The water rises to its own level. I got it, didn't I?
Yep.
Okay. So you got these indie wars. So the first thing is I've got people hitting me up that I say to myself, why? Why would I book you? Are you even aware of our product? Where would you even fit in? Who could you possibly work with? And why? What do you bring to the table? I hate that. And maybe when you guys out there trying to get booked, figure out yourselves, and it might even push you to get better. Think about yourself, what do I have to bring there? And don't tell somebody, oh, I'm the best worker, I'm the best. Don't tell nobody. Show somebody. Don't send them your match with the 5-minute fucking entrance that does the same hammered horse shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just a waste of time, energy, and it pisses me off. Now, I did bring someone into my locker room that was on a probation period. The reason is because it's a poison. These indie people are a poison, just like any other industry. I used to hear this term, there's a place where all the bad apples go in every industry, and this, that, or the other is that place, and that's what this indie cesspool is turned into. This guy wanted to come in and just work for us. He had something to bring to the table, but it definitely wasn't his wrestling talent. The problem ended up being that this person was a lot worse than they thought they were. They weren't as good as they thought that they were. So other than aesthetics, aesthetic, am I using the right word, Justin?
Aesthetic. Which, by the way, means looks.
Yeah, I know, I told you before about the 50 cent words and increasing my intelligence. So, aesthetics, he brought some aesthetics, but it wasn't really worth it at the end of the day. It didn't sell me any more tickets to bring that person in. And at the end of the day, the guys I'm trying to develop have to carry this person. And this person knows it. Whether they want to admit it or not doesn't matter. What doesn't matter if I never book him again, but it mattered to this person, see? They presented themselves as something that they were not. Okay? And I was not. I mean, you were there. Did you ever see me act in a non-professional manner or basically really be myself and tell you what I really wanted to tell you in the way I wanted to tell this person? Did you ever see me carry myself that way with this individual?
Never. I've never seen you carry your way like that with anybody, even with people you didn't like.
That's good. I'm surprised. Good. Because we're
the only guy I've ever seen you blow up at and be quote-unquote unprofessional with was a guy who screwed up the ring somehow and put us behind on our 100th show, which was supposed to be a great night for everybody, and because this...
Oh, my God, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, not
that
naming names, but...
That's good, because that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for me, because I used to blow up like a son of a bitch. Hey, see? I'm pro-therapy. The therapist and the shrink are working, huh? So, this person who I just calmly said... I didn't say even no. I said, for now, I want to think about it. But for the interim, there are some people that are agitated, and I feel things brewing. I'm going to make an educated decision and keep you out of the circle for now. Then we'll revisit. You know? Well, you know how this person is very polite to me. This person is very, oh, thank you. But then they go out there and talk all kind of happy horse shit, and their actions are shit as well. You know? That being said... I just found out that they tried to poach one of our guys, you know, to go work at this other garbage outfit, which I'm telling you, this is the home of the Eagles. They consider themselves the top Chicago promotion. They're in no way, shape, or form at that level. And I'll say this, too, that who I figure to be the top Chicago promotion is AAW, you know, and I'll give them propers because I know Mike. Mike Petrovich is one of the partners. I've known him since he was a kid. I know the dues he's paid, the obstacles he's overcome, and the character of this man, and the integrity of this man. AAW is the top promotion in Chicago, the top Chicago-based promotion on a consistent basis. And we're friends of theirs. Their product, our product, in a sense, is apples and oranges. Where we are located, we're not really competing against each other, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, we're, you know, it's, I would term it friendly competition, you know?
Yeah, if there is friendly competition. But like I say, I can't say enough about Mike Petrovich. I've known him since he was like 18-year-old kid. I've seen him overcome some real happy horseshit as a result of these other indie idiots. And the guy at his core, when he started, I don't know if he does much hands-on anymore outside of direct, is a real fucking production genius. I mean, no bullshit. He really knows how to turn horse turds into rubies. You know what I mean? This organization thinks they're better than that. It's a Chicago-based company. They're nowhere near. They couldn't carry AAW's jock straps. I've been privy to, I ran one show in partnership with them before, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I know how it works. They're all ego-based. They don't want anybody in there exposing that. They work the shit out of people and guilt their friends and family into attending their events, which are only monthly, if that. I bet when you break it down, it's probably every 7 weeks with no skin in the game. They find fans that get a tax refund or have a few extra dollars that want to live out their promoter fantasies for the night to book certain shows in certain other parts of the state. You know what I mean? Outside of Chicago or Chicagoland. You know what I mean? And then they run a training facility, but it's so funny because they don't get them booked anywhere but for them. And the guys that they do try to get booked somewhere are not trained. They're not trained. They get the shit knocked out of them and they pay for it. That's what happens. And they smell it, but they can't find it. And you can't blame it on the young talent because they don't know any better. This is their world. And they're continuously worked and bullied by these guys who consider themselves, refer to themselves as veterans, who have never gone anywhere or done anything or worked with anybody of substance that they haven't paid to come in and work on their show in their backyard. And then the only way you get booked there is you're forced to sell tickets. And if you don't sell the 15 tickets, you have to pay for those 15 tickets just to get booked and work 3 minutes and get hurt and humiliated in front of your friends and family.
There's got to be some legal statute where that's got to be classified as blackmail.
No, I mean, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't in the legal term because everybody makes his own decision. If you manipulate me into something, you didn't force me into it. My thumb isn't broken. You didn't have a gun to my head. No laws are broken. You see what I'm saying?
True.
It's all a mind F, and at the end of the day, everybody wants to be a pro wrestler until they get into pro wrestling. Go outside your small pond and see how these guys do. You know what I'm saying? I know the scams, and that's what it is. And we don't do that. I've never forced one person to sell a ticket. You know that.
No, I know that absolutely.
We draw organically or we don't draw.
Mm-hmm. And we take great pride in that. We take great pride in the fact that we promote, we open the doors, but we let the people come in. Yeah, I think the most we've ever done as far as street work goes is just putting up flyers. But we don't go up to people on the streets and say, hey, you want to come see a wrestling show? Buy 20 tickets.
But it's not even that. It's not that. They go to friends, family, extended family, and work them. And these poor people don't know. I've seen it. I've seen it in more than one occasion where they laugh and go, we've had that guy coming. He buys 6 tickets for like the last 5 years now. He doesn't even like wrestling. You know what I mean? They take it back to this old time where they think that at one point or any point there were carnies in the business. Anybody of substance in the industry has never been a carny. Vern Gagne wasn't a carny. Jerry Jarrett wasn't a carny. Vince McMahon Sr. wasn't a carny. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the carnies are the ones who ended up doing what they call outlaw shows. They don't really mean anything. They've never really been anywhere because no one wants to do business with them, and you can't do business with a carny. You know what I'm saying? So they got this from, I know where they got it from, and I don't know how to say it without exposing who the person is. But anyway, it's just an unbelievable concept. So that's what I'm trying to say is at the end of the day, people love this stuff. And that's what this guy tried to do, is poach one of our guys because he knew that this guy would make himself personally look better than anybody they're producing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And what's that going to do? And what's that going to do for us? People find out that this guy is one of our guys, and all of a sudden their guy goes over on him. It's going to make us look like dirt.
Yeah, and not just that, but it's going to mess with that guy's head too, and that's how you get poisoned. You know, there's a couple of guys and girls that I have worked with and trained, and look at how they ended up. You know what I'm saying? They're never going to be heard or seen anywhere again. If you want to do any wrestling, that's great. I mean, fine, but stay out of my shit. We run the same place every week, and we have to be compelling as all hell and actually work and perform in art to try to suspend disbelief, which we do, hence the 8 years we've been in business. Running the same town every week in Chicagoland. You know?
Yep. And I have to ask about the way they like to promote themselves as being the top promotion in Chicago.
Yeah.
Are you really the top promotion when you're piggybacking off of someone else's YouTube channel? You don't even have your own YouTube channel?
Oh, that's the other thing, you know, and that's the other thing. No, it's not that I'm saying, oh, I'm the asshole that is holding them hostage and they can't work anywhere. I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't have the mindset. There are two reasons to work outside in independent promotions. Number one, if you can learn something. Number two, if you actually get paid well. You know what I'm saying? I've taken some shots for $250 to work for, not out and out garbage, because I've stayed home for a lot of things when I needed the $250 and said, I ain't going to pimp myself. Hey, we go back to pimping and the sale of flesh again, because really that's the parallel. There's parallels. You know what I'm saying? But I've taken some questionable bookings if I could control a situation myself when I needed the money. But nobody does that anymore. Nobody pays that anymore. So all these guys do are out there, it's just they should call them indie egomaniacs, really, because it's not wrestling, and that's what they're motivated by. Oh, I get to go over. I get to look like a wrestler for the night. And that's not what I want to work with, and that's my option. Now, my guys, if they can get paid or they can learn something, go do whatever fuck. You know what I mean? But if you're going to go home and go out there and work for gas money with somebody that's no better than you and probably worse than you and will probably hurt you in one way, shape, or form, trust me, your injuries at 23 years old, you're going to feel when you're my age. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I'm feeling them now, just like they used to tell me. Yeah,
and I mean, I got an education in that myself, and I mean,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I spent a couple years, doing commentary for a Wisconsin-based promotion.
Before you get to the story, to prove my point, what did I say to you? Did I say, you can't go work for Jughead? What did I say to you?
No, you said you wanted me to go work to see what the industry in the area was like.
And then let you make your own decision.
Exactly.
What was your decision?
I did learn a lot. I mean, I wasn't an MC for this Wisconsin-based promotion, but I was a commentator. I'd never done commentary before. I figured this would be a good way to help develop my skills, and I'll just say it. I've always been a mark for commentators. I grew up on JR and Jerry the King Lawler, Gorilla Monsoon, and Bobby Heenan. I've always loved commentators. I've always wanted to be a commentator. So when I got offered the opportunity, I jumped at it.
Sure.
Now, I left because my quote-unquote real job at the time, the schedule with that, wasn't syncing up with their schedule, so I had to call it quits on that. But then I got an offer I went to work for this other promotion when they launched, because they needed a ring announcer, and what I learned from that is just is basically now what I tell everybody. There's a difference between independent wrestling, and I think you touched on this before. There's a difference between independent wrestling and indie wrestling. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. You used the term that I coined, independent professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference, The other thing is that, it's not like I am the great and powerful Oz, never mind that jag-off behind the curtain shit. I've been told by World Wrestling Entertainment, if they can't listen to you, they will never make it here. And make sure you tell them that. Give them an opportunity, and if it doesn't pan out and they don't step up to your expectations, let us know. Now, I didn't call anybody and bury this guy. What I said was, they contacted me to take a look at someone, and I said, I gave you his direct contact. Go ahead and hit him up yourselves. Please know, my thumbprint is no longer on that guy because I don't want to take credit for him, knowing full well what was going to happen. I didn't want it to be Randy Ritchie's guys are punks. Randy Ritchie's guys are egomaniacs. And that's when he stopped and said, I give you more integrity now for saying that, because I don't think I've ever dealt with anybody else that has come out and said no if the tryout comes up, because then they try to fucking gloat about it on the internet. I'm here to do business, and I'm here to do business for probably until I die. You know what I'm saying? I've garnered so much from being so many places and learning with so many people, and then I have my own accolades as far as heart and mind go as well. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not soiling what I'm doing. This is like my child. I'm trying to coddle this son of a bitch and get it into its adolescent stage now. Keep it from going on fucking drugs and forming bad habits. So that's what I'll do. If somebody wants to do whatever, and they come back an asshole, or they form bad habits, WWE doesn't want bad habits, and I will say, cool, you've got their information, my thumbprint is no longer on them, and I just had to do that late last year, and I told them that, and they said, They actually laughed about it and said, well, we told you about the age and the drama. What? It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, 6 months later, it's pretty funny.
In hindsight.
Yeah, because that person branded themselves. I didn't do anything. That's how it used to be in the industry. How it is in all businesses. When you got hired, how many references did you have to provide?
Oh, depends on what job. Some references, they don't check any of them. Other ones, you got to give like 5 to 10. It depends on where you are.
You got to provide personal reference.
For somebody like WWE, I can't even imagine how many references you need to go work there.
And you got to provide, just for any job, you have to provide professional references and personal references.
Well, to get an apartment, you got to provide references.
Yeah, basically. So that's all I'm saying is I will not have my name used in vain, LOL. You know what I mean? It's hard enough to get a tryout, but I'll be damned if somebody's going to go down there and take a big shit and have it be on me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And how many promoters in the area or trainers in the area would jump at that chance to be like, oh, yeah, I trained that guy. And
well, they do, because they don't look at the dollars and cents. They look at the gloating and how many views their stupid posts and false claim or half false claim gets on the fucking internet.
They care more about the ego.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what this is about. You'll never see me step in the ring and put any and have people put me over. You'll never see me get in there and have the guys take bumps for me. I probably possess a couple of matches in me. I'm still not in that bad a shape, working around a broken neck and working around 2 bad knees and a broken tibia. You know what I mean? And a herniated disc. Yeah, herniated disc. I probably got a handful of matches left in me. And I can be entertaining, and I can even do some things that'll make you think I'm fucking athletic still. Who the fuck wants to see that? But more than once. It's a gimmick. You know what I mean? And I don't talk about my retirement match or matches or any of that shit because that's what marks do. That's what egomaniacs do. That's what being a mark for yourself is. So I never say never, but I never fucking tease like I'm going to do any fucking thing. I would do something if I thought it would benefit somebody else. And I've done that on some of our cards, you know. You see me, I think, maybe not. No, I don't think you did. But in Villa Park, I did that.
I was there.
Just to show some punk that didn't want to do a 3-minute job to somebody that I decided was worth a push. And I said, you motherfuckers, lead by example. Who's got boots? Who's got tights? Give me the shit. I'm going to fucking do it. And I went out there and put the guy over. And I came back and said, fuck you. Everybody else here is not too good to do the fucking job. And we weeded out half of our roster then. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you lead. You lead by example.
Yeah, those Villa Park days really kind of that was our revolving door. But I remember in the 7 years I've known you,
yeah,
I've seen you in the ring twice.
You did?
Seen you in the ring twice. Okay. The first time was because one of the guys in your opener didn't show up.
Okay. And
so you threw together whatever gear you could and did the opener. And then the second time was when
to teach Matt Vine something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then
and who did the job in both matches?
As I point to him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that second time was a tag team match where you teamed up with one of the students against Vine and somebody else who shall remain nameless because he's no longer with us.
Yeah. Now Matt Vine will tell you to this day how he benefited from that match. You know what I mean? And there was also another guy. There were 2 guys in that match that I wanted to make them or break them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And have them put it on them so they could look inside themselves. They both looked inside themselves and quit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what it's supposed to be about. It's about company. It's about a brand. You know, I'm only going to look out for that brand and protect it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Not what can I do, but what can we do?
Yeah, and that's what we are at the end of the day is a wrestling company. You know,
yeah.
We're a wrestling company. World Wrestling Entertainment is looking for people who are technically sound, or big and or good looking naturally. They want thoroughbreds. No bad habits. No punk attitude. In that 3-day tryout, they will find your strengths, but they are going to find your weaknesses. You are not going to get the accolades until you get the email after they have assessed you with maybe a mention of your accolades. But they will call out your fucking character flaws. And they'll call them out and they'll exploit them. For everybody to see, so everybody can learn from it. If they sign a guy to NXT, they figured that with all the money they invested in him, with all the trainers and blah, 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 and the moving money, $87,000 the first year. You know what I'm saying? They're not just going to throw those NXT contracts out like frisbees,
No. And to work for a company like WWE, and everybody talks about, Vince McMahon's an egomaniac. This guy's an egomaniac. He only got pushed because of this. He only got pushed because of that. You cannot be an egomaniac and work for a company like WWE. You can be a shrewd politician, which is critical.
But not till you get that chance to get over, and then you run with that ball. Mm-hmm. Then you can. You got to play your politics up to that point. Like I said, when I broke into the industry, I didn't say shit for the first 5 years unless spoken to in the locker room. In the car ride I would, but I never buried anybody. That's why I would ask my questions and say what I meant in a professional manner. Becoming a politician that way, boom. Then you come up and you learn how to use it at the next level.
Well, look at how that worked out for The Rock. When he came in, one of the first guys to talk to him was the Iron Sheik. And the Iron Sheik took him aside and said, when you go in there, you keep your mouth shut and you listen.
Well, I've said it before. The actual first guy, or one of the first guys Rock talked to when he showed up in his dress shirt, his polo, to do extra work while his father parlayed with Vince direct for him, was me and a couple of the other guys. And the guy was humble from the get-go. He looked like $1 million fucking dollars. He looked like $1 million. But he was humble from the get-go. He got in line with everybody else to get paid for the night, and I just hustled him over there before Arnold Skolin put the briefcase away, because then you'd have to wait for the $250 to get mailed to you. Rock didn't even know that the WWE catering was free. And I'd say, go over and get that before it goes away. Those veal brats are outstanding. You know what I mean? So that's how he carried himself. He got shit canned. He was fired. He was finishing his dates. He took the microphone, it's now or never, and he made that shit work. And look now he's the most recognized star in the entire world today, currently.
I think he's currently the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Most recognized star, in my day in the 90s, that was Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, You know what I'm saying? He mastered the politics of wrestling, and now the son of a bitch has mastered the politics in Hollywood. There's nothing he couldn't do.
Yeah, and that's different. That's the difference between being a politician and being an egomaniac in the wrestling business.
Exactly.
Not in general, just in the wrestling business.
Now, again, I'm going to get to more of this because I want to talk about it out loud with you, especially. Sorry, I'm playing with your phone. I'm looking at your screen.
No problem.
I'm just playing with something because of my issues, whatever the fuck they are.
Do you do that thing where, because I do a thing where it's like if I got a lot on my mind and my nerves are kind of up, I have to fidget with something.
Total fidgeter, dude. I'm always rocking or moving something,
I remember being on, like in college and being on not dates, but like being out of coffee with girls who I kind of had a thing for, and just being really nervous and having to fucking.
That's a date. If they go out for coffee with you and you're interested in them, that's a date. That's a chance.
Yeah. A chance I blew every time. Oh well.
It's all right. You're gonna end up with Jessica Rabbit type chick before it's all over. You're still a young guy.
Oh God, no! I'd suffocate to death.
That's what you want. What way to go? So before we did that, what was I going off on? Oh. Protection of the business, and that's what it's about. You're protectors of the business. The first one that comes off the top of my head was Roddy fucking Piper.
God bless.
That's why he did the things that he did, was to protect the business. The business was very good for Roddy Piper, but the business was very bad to Roddy Piper as well. He's been through more in the industry, and he was, rest in peace, paid more dues than I did. But that was the level of dues at the time. He had to get through that shit to get to the level of where he was. They used to say that if you can make it till the age of 30 paying your dues, from the age of 30 to 40, those were your money-making years. Then as the body began to break down, you would try to go over 40 and go 40 to 50, and that's when you pass the fucking torch. So people would take things that Roddy said about not doing a job and twist it to like he was an egomaniac like Shawn Michaels. Piper did not do that. If somebody couldn't kick his ass, he would not just put them over in the middle of the ring, i.e. Mr. T. You with me?
Yep.
So, that's what Roddy did. He was a picture of the business. Now, I recently saw or heard something that I want to get more into and do some of my own fact checking so I can talk about it educationally. So did you know that the only thing I can figure on this is Jimmy Snuka was more over than Hogan when Vince was trying to get Hogan over and do what he did with taking over the world and making wrestling, you know, what it was in the 80s or 80, whatever the hell, with Cyndi Lauper and all that shit.
Rock
the
and
cool
wrestling.
place to be, the place to be. Snuka must have been hired by Senior. He was a mainstay then for Junior, but a top fucking guy, okay? Only because he didn't have a choice. I never realized this. I think I've talked to you about this. Everybody knows Jimmy Snuka, even your educated fan that never actually watched the fucking guy live on television or on television, tape television in the 80s, you know, 70s and 80s. When he did that crossbody or that Snuka splash off the top of the cage, Don Morocco kicked out and won that match.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? I never paid attention to that. And Piper, recently I came across something where he talks about that. Vince was doing everything in his power at the time to kill off Jimmy because Jimmy was more over than Hulk Hogan in the semi-main. You know? Mm-hmm. So he needed Jimmy to sell tickets, but he needed to kill Jimmy off, he thought, to make room for Hulk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just want to learn more of that because, you know, I think it's something to talk about. You know what I mean? There's things that he would do. And I've heard stories. I've heard the stories before in the locker room, and I think they're finally coming out now, where Jimmy was so over in these towns where they wanted to see Jimmy Snuka versus Don the Rock Morocco for the Intercontinental belt. They wanted to see Piper versus Snuka. He would get up to the building with Buddy Rogers driving and say, "Not today, Vince. Not today. Let's go," and not fucking show. You know what I mean? So that was his silent protest back. So, you know, I just want to look at that because I want to learn from it because I certainly wouldn't have handled my business that way. I wouldn't bury one guy to take a chance on another guy because they're both my guys. We were strategic partners. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I want to talk about once I do more investigating. Thoughts on that?
I mean, no, it's really interesting to think about because everybody remembers that splash off the cage. I mean, hell, that's what got Foley into the business.
Yeah. Foley even says, he hitchhiked and scraped up and busted his piggy bank for change to get in to see that match.
Yep. Hitchhiked from Long Island, rolled pennies to get the tickets. It's what got him into the business. It's on every highlight reel. I think it's even in their signature at the beginning of every show that they do. I think there's a brief. Everybody remembers him diving off the cage, but nobody seems to remember the fact that he did a job that night.
Well, even me, who didn't notice it, I didn't pay attention until I heard Piper say it.
Yeah.
You know. Now, I mean, this transcends so much, and how it affects today is. Everybody credits Jimmy Snuka as being the first cruiserweight or high flyer. Not cruiserweight in stature, but high flyer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because of that stuff. Which, you know, affects it today because if there wasn't a Jimmy Snuka, half of your smaller guys in stature wouldn't have gotten over like they did.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to remember. I mean, because Snuka's heyday was the 70s and the 80s, so if it hadn't been for Snuka, we might not see guys like Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero, or our guy, Angel Garza.
Yeah. Or our guy, Inestra, our guy, Sensei, our guy, Anakin. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And our up-and-comers, you know. It's an amazing thing, you know. And Jimmy was, you know, I booked Jimmy. Jimmy worked for us 8-10 times over the years when I used to be North American Wrestling Federation. I knew Jimmy, man. I mean, he would come in the locker room last time, I think he was 62 years old, and he asked me what I wanted for a finish. I says, well, whatever you want to do, Jimmy. He goes, You want me to do the splash off the top? I go, can you do it? He said, hell yeah, I can. If you want me to fly, the Superfly is going to fly. Fucking did it. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. I left it open for that. You know, and the way Jimmy was, I mean, I never knew. He broke into the business the same way Piper broke into the business. Even though he's from the Fiji Islands, he was living in Hawaii and he was fucking homeless. He was fucking homeless. A homeless teen or young man. That means no parents. He'd been on his own, probably same age as me, 15 years old. You know what I mean? So that's amazing that he could go from that to as big a star as he was. And I'll bet you he wasn't even paid on anywhere near what Hogan made. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I doubt it.
I don't think Jimmy ever learned to read and write. You know, because I remember booking him one time in Montana, and I was terrified of at least one connecting, possibly two connecting flights to get to Great Falls, Montana, because he couldn't read. You know?
Yeah.
I used to deal with Mina to do his bookings because she spoke English, you know? Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's that I'd love to get on. And if you guys can find anything out that you want to talk about or get me to fact check, you know, I'll go into my resources of old timers and try to figure out the spin of people who are actually there, you know.
Well, that's why people like listening to this podcast. That's why I like doing this podcast, because everybody sees things in a straight line. I like the. You ever watch the show Big History on the History Channel, narrated by Bryan Cranston?
I've seen it, but I've never.
You know that it applies to so much more than just, you know, human history or world history. You can apply it to the wrestling business too. It's not a line, it's a web. It's a web of all these interconnecting things. Everybody remembers Snuka flying off of the cage, but there's all these other little factors that were at play that kind of determine the course of not only Snuka's career, but of Hogan's career, Morocco's career.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's career. You know, I love to watch. There's a match, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka. It's a 25-minute piece of art from Japan.
I never knew that they. I gotta get on YouTube.
Oh, I'm gonna share this shit with you because this is amazing. They worked each other in Japan, and it was a very volatile time for Japan, where there wasn't a baby and there wasn't a heel. Well, Jimmy was passing the torch, okay? So he said, fuck that. I'm going to work heel. You're going to work baby. We ain't going to do shit or talk about shit. We're going to go out there and fucking do it. My God, they tore the fucking house down, and you would not believe how the Japanese fans in that era were chanting, Ricky, Ricky. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy was the heel, and he was fucking outstanding heel. Outstanding heel or outstanding face. And just had that feeling and knew how to go out there and take people on that roller coaster ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I found it. Yeah, it's on YouTube from All Japan Pro Wrestling. Jimmy Snuka and Ricky Steamboat. I got to check that out later.
All right, well, let's make a pact right now then. You go ahead and watch that shit this week and study it. I'm going to go ahead and try to find out what I can. And next week we'll feature that topic on the podcast.
Hey, I'm all for that.
Is it time to go home?
Damn it, man. We did an hour again.
Dude,
just organically.
I know when this podcast takes off, people are going to really appreciate it. Wrestlers, fans, and old timers.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm going to check that
match. I can't believe, and I want to say this before we go. Fucking Savio Vega.
God bless him.
He hit me up once he found out we had a podcast. Even though we just started, he goes, when am I going to be on? I said, No, first he asked me, when am I going to book him? I says, well, as soon as we get money. He goes, no, brother, I mean, when am I going to do your podcast? So it's fucking his idea. I didn't ask. I didn't want to break his balls. I just thought that was fucking outstanding, and it makes me feel warm inside. You know?
Oh, my God. I know. Oh, God, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking
Professional,
for? What a shot in the arm to us.
Yeah? What a great guy.
And what a nod to Savio and his humility.
I've got our guys since we talked to Savio, fucking some of our guys are studying the shit out of Savio Vega stuff from all over the fucking world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I started too. Like, when I learned he was going to be on the podcast, I went back on the network, watched his stuff with Austin, watched his stuff with Gold Dust, and ever since we talked to him, I've gotten really into a lot of the stuff from Puerto Rico. And I got to say this. You fans my age, who are like maybe your late 20s, early to mid 30s, who watched TNA in the mid 2000s, you remember Shane Sewell, the referee, Glamour Boy Shane from IWA Puerto Rico.
What a great guy. Him and Val Venus came in there originally as the Glamour Boys for Carlos Colon.
Go on YouTube. Look up Shane's stuff, particularly...
Glamour Boy Shane or Shane Sewell, but Glamour Boy Shane.
Yeah, from Puerto Rico, particularly his stuff with Ricky Banderas, who I've also become a huge fan of.
And the late, great Bison Smith.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, check, and go to Savio's channel, IWA Puerto Rico on YouTube. Yes. Check out their stuff; it's brilliant right now.
The production quality is fucking outstanding.
Mm-hmm. And right now they're kind of on hold because of COVID, but they're doing what they call a Blast from the Past series, which is
there's so much in that library. If they ever let loose of that library, man, unfucking believable footage.
Yeah, but Glamour Boy Shane, go and check him out again. You remember him as Shane Sewell from TNA in the mid 2000s. As you say, what a head.
Shane still owes me $20 and a pack of Marlboros. I just remembered that.
So Shane, if you're listening, time to pay up.
Nah, we'll do it when I see him again. Shane is a great guy. He had a daughter. His son was just a little guy, and he has a wonderful wife that they really love each other. I mean, relationship goals. They've been together a long time, and they are still together.
Yep, and he still lives on the island, runs a wrestling school down there now.
Is he on the island? I think he's in Florida, no?
Is he in Florida? I know I know his school. I know his school is in Puerto Rico.
It's either one or the other. I know that they owned a home. They actually own a home on the island in Condado. Yeah. And they lived in Tampa for a while because I tried to get WWE to hire him as a referee. Because, I mean, there was no better guy for them to work with and young talent at NXT than him. Because Shane was an incredible performer he was a top guy in Puerto Rico for a decade. A white guy from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Top babyface.
Yeah, and usually down there, as you have said, the gringo is usually the bad guy.
The big gringos. Shane's only $1.80.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But again, watch his stuff with Ricky Banderas, who was a legit 240, 250.
Yeah, he would blow up to 260.
Yeah, and it's just unbelievable. Shane's given up 70 to 80 pounds to this other guy, but the stuff they're doing in that ring is just fantastic.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look at the crowd reaction. Oh
yeah, and they love Shane. They love Shane. The women loved Shane.
I love Shane.
Well, hey. But you know what? Let's just be honest. Good-looking guy, no homo.
Like I said, and I'll say it again. At TNA, I wanted the X Division to be on its own, and I wanted it to be player-agented by Chris Daniels, Jerry Lynn, and Shane Sewell. And you would have had something that they would still be fucking drawing with, man.
Oh my God, that's the whole reason I started watching TNA in the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
their main events were decent, but that undercard with the X Division,
Homicide, another great fucking hand.
Yep, Homicide, AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, Chris Sabin.
Small in stature, but his star power transcended the X Division.
Oh God, and you said yourself they built that whole company on him, and for the longest time, no matter who was in the main event, he was the top star.
You could have worked that AJ Styles and Samoa Joe angle for at least 1 year, and there were plans to do it for even longer. But since they didn't like it, and it wasn't Dixie Carter's plan, they killed it.
Yeah. But oh my God, and Joe's another one. When he first came in, here's this 280-pound guy throwing himself around like a cruiserweight. I was
too.
My jaw was on the floor.
The believability.
Yeah. But anyway, that's unfortunately that Titanic sank.
Oh, like a fart in church.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the pimpy pimp and close this because I have to go get my laundry actually.
He's got to get his laundry, and then it's underpants time.
Not underpants time till 9 p.m.
Yeah, but I gotta do laundry too. I had to go.
What kind of skivvies you wear? You wear colored shit, boxers, briefs. What do you wear?
Boxer briefs, whatever I can find.
Yeah, me too. Right now, see, laundry day. I'm down to my last pair. I only got one pair of tidy whities. So when I go in, I go, oh shit, I gotta do laundry.
Oh my God, that reminds me of like 5 years ago. I came in the locker room right before a taping.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And I had no idea what was going on, but first thing I see is Rand sitting on a chair in his tidy whities.
This is that pair, by the way.
Hammering on his...
How many years ago is this that pair?
It was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I still got that. I got one last pair of tidy whities. I only wear it when I'm out of laundry.
Yeah. So I go in, he's sitting on a chair in his tidy whities, and he's hammering on his jeans with a mallet.
I wasn't hammering, I was pressing.
Look, I didn't know that at the time.
Okay, so when you do what we do, you become resourceful as all hell. One of the ways that I've learned to become resourceful is when I get canvas tears on the training canvas, instead of going out and buying a new $350 canvas or whatever the fuck shipping is too, I have learned about this wonderful glue. It's a fabric glue made by a guy in the 1920s, a farmer with the last name The Bish. So I found this glue. It works fucking outstanding on the canvas. You've seen me use it before. Mm-hmm. I ripped my fucking crotch and did not have time to go home and get a new pair of pants. So when you walked in at that point, I was trying to get my crotch back together so I could work the rest of the night without my balls flying around.
But I just walk in, I see him sitting there in his tidy whities using a mallet on his jeans. My first thought is it finally happened. He's gone off the deep end. It finally happened.
I glued a seam together, okay, and then I would press it with that rubber mallet because it was a solid, hard thing. I was like going, "You goddamn pants!" You know what I mean? But I know it looked bizarre. You probably weren't even looking focused. You're afraid you're going to see my old genitalias, you know?
I had no idea what the hell was going on. Then there was the time you refereed an entire taping coast to coast. I'm in the back picking up everybody's T-shirts and everything. The house lights are still down. I see a piece of gray fabric laying on the ground. I'm thinking it's one of the guy's shirts. I pick it up. I realize it's soaking wet. And then I realize I'm touching elastic, and it's Rand's dirty, sweaty undies. I fling those things across the floor. First thing he says to me is, "Motherfucker, you should have left them there. I would have picked them up." I didn't know that's what they were.
Well, the bottom line to that is, it's just like the old timers taught me. I can't run around. I can't referee and then run around until I get home and get a chance to take a shower in the soggy-ass underwear. You know what I'm saying? You ruin your underwear. You ruin your genitalia. You get rashes and things like that. Oh, and I was taught, to respect myself, self-respect. So I always, if I knew I was going to referee or had to, I'd bring a spare pair of drawers and when I needed. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was funny.
Oh God, I'll never forget that. But okay, Rand's got to get his laundry, so let's get the pimping out of the way. So Patreon.
Don't be afraid of Patreon. I'm telling you. This is a great concept. It's a great company. And I believe that a lot of stuff from now until the near future is going to be served up content-wise on Patreon, be it audio, visual, or even pictures.
Mm-hmm. And not only with our Patreon, I support a couple of people on Patreon myself, and trust me, it's worth it. If you find the right people to support, they make it worth your while, and we're one of them. Yeah. We're always coming up with new ways to entertain you guys for your dollar. One of them being a vlog that we're currently working on.
Yeah, that's going to be funny.
Show a little bit behind the scenes, show you guys exactly how funny most of our guys can be.
Oh my God. Me too, especially with the brain cells I got left. I'm witty sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm usually witty too, but it's usually in my own head and when nobody else is around.
Well, it's fun. You'll see. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right,
so we're working on that.
That's a euphemism. Again, the sale of flesh we don't condone.
So the 3 tiers on Patreon, $1 gets you the podcast a week early and completely ad-free before it goes to YouTube. The same week it's recorded. $3 is going to get you that, plus a few exclusive matches a month. And $5 is going to get you the podcast and every match from an exclusive taping. Nice. So you get between 2 or 3 matches per month at $3, but at $5, you're going to get 4 to 5, sometimes even 6.
Nice.
So it's a great deal, $5 a month for all of that. Yeah. And again, we got more stuff coming your way. YouTube on fire right now. Subscribe to us on YouTube, right? And we're constantly posting new stuff on there. We're catching up on a lot of stuff with our Rewind series, bringing you guys up to date.
Is all the top stuff. So you see some great fucking stories, ideas, concepts, and performances by our talent roster, man.
Mm-hmm. Pivot Share, PPW on demand. Again, it's premierprowrestling.pivotshare.com/home. I finally did it.
Just go to pivotshare.com and search Premier Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to see if I could finally get that address out without
stuttering. No, I'm saying it. It's not. I like the way you're saying it, but when I think over the age of 50, it's easier for us to do it that way, even though it sucks, and it's another step we're old and can't remember.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good thing for me to remember in about 15 years here. And Pro Wrestling Tees. Again, we got the Corona Mania shirt. And again, folks, we're not making fun of anybody. We're not making fun of the pandemic.
The fuck up,
we're just trying to bring a little lightheartedness into something that's been really stressful for a lot of people. And Corona Mania has simply been our nickname for our studio tapings.
Yes.
We've also got Make American Wrestling Great Again. We've got We Kick Ass Till We Smell Shit. And we've got our straightforward Premier Pro Wrestling shirts. I got a couple myself. I wear them with pride. Get on ProWrestlingTees.com and get your merchandise today. We've got one for just about every guy on the roster, too.
Yep.
So with that, we are going to say goodbye for this week. Thank you guys again for hanging in. Again, I still can't believe 2 weeks in a row we went over an hour organically. Thank you guys for listening all the way through. Remember to stay tuned. We're going to have one of these coming to you every single week, even in the middle of Corona Mania 2020. You guys, take care.
If I may, I saw you going for the button there. If I may, until we meet again, keep your rubber side down.
And what was that thing? What was that thing Red used to say on the Red Green Show? Oh, keep your stick on the ice.
Attaboy.